Imagine being the person everyone looks up to, someone whose presence commands respect without ever raising your voice or trying to force it. What if I told you that you could start earning this level of respect today simply by applying a few Stoic principles, and not just respect from strangers, but from your closest friends, your colleagues, and even your family? Stay tuned because, in this video, I'm going to reveal the 5 proven strategies that will help you earn respect from almost anyone, and trust me, you'll want to hear all of them. These are the timeless principles that the Stoics used to master themselves and the world around them. Ready to step into your full potential? Let's dive in. Mastering emotional control is one of the foundational elements of earning respect from almost anyone. Emotional control is not about suppressing your feelings, but rather about understanding them and choosing how to respond in any given situation. This skill signals strength, maturity, and self-awareness, qualities that naturally command admiration. The Stoic philosophy teaches us that we cannot control external events or how people treat us, but we can always control our reactions to them. This distinction is what separates impulsive behavior from intentional action and can significantly impact how others perceive you. Let's delve deeper into an example to illustrate this concept. Imagine you're in a public setting, perhaps a meeting at work, and someone openly criticizes your idea or performance. This situation can feel like a direct attack, triggering an immediate emotional response, perhaps anger, frustration, or embarrassment. If you react impulsively, such as shouting back or making a defensive comment, it escalates the tension. You risk appearing immature, overly sensitive, or incapable of handling criticism, none of which earn respect. Instead, a Stoic approach encourages you to pause before responding. Take a breath and remind yourself that the criticism is an external event. It does not define your worth or abilities unless you allow it to. Responding calmly and thoughtfully might involve saying something like, "Thank you for the feedback. Can you clarify what specifically concerns you so I can address it?" This type of response not only diffuses tension, but also demonstrates confidence and emotional maturity. By handling criticism gracefully, you showcase composure under pressure, which is a hallmark of true respectability. For a historical perspective, consider Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic philosopher and Roman emperor. Despite the immense pressures of ruling an empire, dealing with betrayals, wars, and political intrigue, Marcus maintained remarkable emotional control. His meditations reveal that he constantly reminded himself to detach from external provocations and focus on his own values and actions. For instance, when faced with insults or conspiracies, he didn't lash out or seek revenge impulsively. Instead, he reflected on the impermanence of such events and chose actions that aligned with his principles, earning the admiration of his peers and posterity. To explore another everyday scenario, imagine being stuck in traffic and someone aggressively cuts you off. The natural reaction might be to honk angrily, shout, or even retaliate by driving aggressively. However, emotional control in this situation means recognizing that the other driver's behavior is out of your control and doesn't deserve your peace of mind. Instead of reacting, you could remind yourself that this incident is trivial in the grand scheme of things. By letting it go and focusing on your own journey, you not only protect your emotional state, but also avoid escalating the situation. This approach demonstrates self-discipline and emotional resilience, traits others notice and admire even in small interactions. Here are some practical methods to cultivate it. 1. Mindfulness. Engage in mindfulness exercises such as deep breathing or meditation. These practices help you become more aware of your thoughts and emotions, allowing you to pause and reflect before reacting. 2. Reflective journaling. At the end of the day, write about situations where you felt emotionally triggered. Analyze your reactions, consider alternative responses, and plan how to handle similar situations better in the future. 3. Pause technique. When faced with a triggering situation, create a habit of pausing for a few seconds. Count to 10 or take 3 deep breaths. This simple act can prevent impulsive reactions and give you time to respond thoughtfully. 4. Perspective shifting. Ask yourself, will this matter a week, a month, or a year from now? This question helps to reframe the situation, reducing its emotional intensity. By mastering emotional control, you create an aura of stability and confidence. People respect those who can face challenges and provocations without losing their composure because it signifies inner strength. In a world where emotional reactivity is common, your ability to stay calm and deliberate will set you apart as a person worthy of admiration and trust. This practice not only improves your relationships, but also strengthens your character, aligning you with the timeless wisdom of Stoicism. Embracing integrity and authenticity is a cornerstone of earning deep respect from others. Integrity refers to the alignment of your words and actions with your values and principles, while authenticity is about being genuine, true to yourself, and transparent in your interactions. Together, these traits create an unshakable foundation of trust and admiration because they signal to others that you are reliable, honest, and consistent in both your beliefs and behaviors. People naturally gravitate toward those who stand firm in their convictions, especially in a world where duplicity and superficiality often prevail. When you consistently act in alignment with your principles, even when it's inconvenient or challenging, you send a powerful message. You are dependable and unwavering. Let's explore this in greater depth with a fully detailed example. Imagine a scenario where you are part of a team working on a project with a strict deadline. Halfway through, you notice that some team members are cutting corners, compromising on quality to meet the timeline. It would be easy to go along with this approach to avoid conflict or to blend in. However, if you value integrity, you would address the issue openly, even if it means risking discomfort or tension. For instance, you might say, "I understand the time pressure we're under, but if we compromise on quality, it could damage the reputation of our team and undermine the purpose of this project. Let's find a way to meet the deadline without sacrificing the standards we all agreed upon." By doing this, you demonstrate courage and a commitment to your values. Even if some colleagues initially resist your suggestion, over time, they will likely admire your forthrightness and respect your dedication to doing what's right rather than what's easy. This level of authenticity distinguishes you as a person of integrity and strengthens your reputation as someone others can trust to make principled decisions. Consider the example of Nelson Mandela, a global symbol of integrity and authenticity. Despite enduring 27 years in prison, Mandela refused to compromise his principles or resort to bitterness. When he emerged, he chose reconciliation over retribution, focusing on healing his nation rather than seeking revenge. His steadfast commitment to his values inspired respect not only within South Africa, but across the world. Mandela's life teaches us that integrity isn't about grand gestures. It's about consistently making choices that align with your moral compass, no matter the circumstances. In day-to-day life, authenticity also means showing your true self. including your vulnerabilities, without fear of judgment. For example, if you're a manager and you make a mistake, admitting it openly rather than hiding it is a sign of authenticity. Imagine telling your team, "I made an error in judgment, and I want to acknowledge it. Here's how I plan to address it, and I'd appreciate your support in making things right." This kind of transparency shows humility and builds trust. People respect leaders who are honest about their shortcomings because it makes them relatable and human. Another layer to authenticity is avoiding pretense or trying to conform to someone else's expectations. In social settings, it can be tempting to exaggerate your achievements or pretend to share interests to fit in. However, this behavior often comes across as disingenuous. Instead, focus on being yourself. For instance, if a group of colleagues is discussing a popular TV show you haven't watched, rather than pretending to know it, you could say, "I haven't seen it, but it sounds interesting. What do you like about it?" This response is honest, engages others in conversation, and reflects your genuine personality. People respect those who are secure enough to be themselves, rather than trying to fake knowledge or experiences. Here are some practical strategies to strengthen your integrity and authenticity. 1. Define your core values. Take time to reflect on what principles matter most to you: honesty, kindness, responsibility, or perseverance. Write them down and commit to making them your guideposts in decision-making. 2. Practice consistency. Make sure your actions align with your words. If you promise to do something, follow through. If you set boundaries, consistency builds trust and credibility. 3. Be honest about your intentions. Whether in professional or personal situations, be upfront about your goals and expectations. Avoid manipulating or misleading others to gain an advantage. 4. Accept your imperfections. Authenticity doesn't mean being perfect. It means embracing who you are, flaws and all, and being comfortable in your own skin. 5. Seek constructive feedback. Ask people you trust to share their honest impressions of you. This can help you identify areas where your actions may not align with your intentions and allow you to make adjustments. Let's revisit an everyday example to tie this all together. Suppose you're at a family gathering and someone brings up a controversial topic. Rather than nodding along to keep the peace, you could respectfully share your perspective, saying something like, "I see things a bit differently, and here's why." This approach doesn't mean being argumentative, but rather staying true to your values while remaining respectful. Even if others disagree, they will likely respect your honesty and courage to stand by your beliefs. Integrity and authenticity require consistent effort and self-reflection. They are not about putting on a facade, but about being true to yourself and holding yourself accountable. When you embody these qualities, you create a lasting impression of reliability and genuineness, which earns respect from almost everyone you interact with. In a society that often rewards superficiality, living with integrity and authenticity is a rare and valuable trait that sets you apart. Fostering empathy and understanding is one of the most transformative habits you can cultivate to earn respect from others. Empathy allows you to see the world through someone else's perspective, while understanding helps you to acknowledge their emotions, experiences, and needs without judgment. Together, these qualities create a foundation for building strong, meaningful relationships, as people naturally respect those who show genuine care and compassion for their well-being. To deeply understand empathy, it's essential to realize it's not just about feeling sorry for someone, but actively putting yourself in their shoes. For instance, Imagine a coworker who consistently misses deadlines and seems disengaged. It's easy to jump to conclusions or criticize their performance, but empathy invites you to consider what might be happening in their life. Perhaps they are dealing with personal challenges like a sick family member or mental health struggles. Approaching them with empathy could look like having a private conversation where you say, "I've noticed you seem a bit overwhelmed lately. Is there anything I can do to support you or make things more manageable?" This simple act of care can shift the dynamic entirely. Even if you can't solve their problem, showing that you genuinely care builds trust and earns their respect. Empathy extends beyond personal relationships and applies to broader contexts. Take the example of a community leader addressing a contentious issue, like a proposed development project. Rather than dismissing opposing views, an empathetic leader would actively listen to concerns and seek common ground. For instance, they might say during a meeting, "I understand that this project raises concerns about preserving green spaces. Your input matters, and I'd like to explore ways to incorporate your ideas into the plan." By validating others' feelings and involving them in decision-making, the leader fosters a sense of inclusion and respect, even among those who disagree. Understanding requires active listening, a skill that goes hand in hand with empathy. Active listening means fully concentrating on what someone is saying without interrupting or thinking about your response. Let's consider an example from a personal relationship. Suppose a close friend confides in you about a breakup. Instead of jumping in with advice like, "You'll find someone better," or dismissing their feelings with, "It happens to everyone," active listening involves giving them space to express their emotions. You could say, "That sounds really painful. How are you feeling about it?" This response acknowledges their feelings and encourages them to open up. When people feel heard and understood, they naturally gravitate toward you and respect your ability to hold space for them. Another example of empathy and understanding comes from customer service. Picture a scenario where a frustrated customer is complaining about a defective product. Instead of getting defensive or dismissive, an empathetic approach would involve saying, "I'm really sorry to hear about your experience. I understand how frustrating this must be, and I'm here to help make it right." This response not only de-escalates tension, but also reinforces that you value their concerns. Even in challenging situations, practicing empathy can turn negative interactions into opportunities to build respect and loyalty. Empathy also means recognizing the different ways people express themselves and adapting your approach accordingly. For example, cultural differences often influence communication styles. A colleague from a culture that values indirect communication might hesitate to voice their opinions openly. Empathy involves understanding this nuance and creating a safe space for them to share, perhaps by asking open-ended questions like, "What do you think about this approach?" This adaptability shows respect for their background and encourages collaboration. Let's take inspiration from renowned historical figures who exemplified empathy and understanding. Abraham Lincoln, for instance, was known for his ability to connect with people across diverse backgrounds and ideologies. During the American Civil War, he frequently met with soldiers, citizens, and even political opponents to listen to their concerns and find common ground. His empathetic leadership style not only earned him respect, but also helped to unify a deeply divided nation. Developing empathy and understanding requires practice and intentionality. Here are actionable steps to help you embody these qualities. 1. Practice active listening daily. Set aside distractions like phones or laptops and give your full attention to the person speaking. Reflect on their words before responding, and use phrases like, "I hear you," or "that makes sense," to show you're engaged. 2. Ask open-ended questions. Encourage deeper conversations by asking questions that require more than a yes or no answer. For example, instead of asking, "Are you okay?" ask, "What's been on your mind lately?" 3. Educate yourself about different perspectives. Read books, watch documentaries, or attend events that expose you to experiences different from your own. This broadens your understanding and helps you relate to others more effectively. 4. Be patient with emotions. When someone is upset, don't rush to fix the problem or change the subject. Sometimes, simply being present and allowing them to process their feelings is the most empathetic thing you can do. Now consider a scenario where empathy transforms a seemingly minor interaction. Imagine you're at a coffee shop and the barista appears frazzled after getting your order wrong. Instead of reacting with frustration, you could say, "It looks like it's been a busy day. No worries about the mix-up. Take your time." This small act of kindness might seem insignificant, but it leaves a lasting impression. Not only does it make their day better, but it also reinforces your image as someone who leads with understanding. Empathy and understanding are not just tools for earning respect. They are powerful forces for building deeper connections and fostering harmony in all aspects of life. When you prioritize seeing the world through others' eyes, you create an environment where people feel valued and respected. Over time, this practice enriches your relationships and enhances your ability to inspire and influence others positively. One of the most effective ways to earn respect from others is through consistent and clear communication. This is a skill that can profoundly impact how people perceive you and how much they trust and value your input. When you communicate effectively, it shows that you are not only confident in your thoughts, but also considerate of the other person's understanding. Respect often begins with how we express ourselves. It's the foundation for building strong and healthy relationships, whether in professional settings, personal lives, or within communities. Effective communication means being clear, concise, and intentional with your words, but it's also about being mindful of your body language and tone. Have you ever been in a situation where someone said something, but their body language made it clear they weren't being honest or sincere? This discrepancy between what is said and how it's said can undermine trust and respect. That's why ensuring consistency between verbal and nonverbal cues is crucial in earning respect. For example, let's say you're in a business meeting where you're presenting an idea. If you speak clearly and confidently, but your posture is slumped, and you avoid eye contact, people may not take you seriously. Your words may sound well thought out, but the lack of confidence in your body language will send mixed signals. This subtle inconsistency will make it hard for others to fully respect your opinions, no matter how well they're articulated. On the other hand, standing tall, making eye contact, and using an open posture while speaking conveys confidence and sincerity, signaling that you are not only committed to your words, but also respect the person you're communicating with. To illustrate further, let's think about a situation where clear communication becomes crucial. Imagine you are a manager leading a team through a challenging project. You're discussing the next steps, and some team members seem confused about the tasks they need to complete. If you simply brush off their confusion, saying, "Just get it done," that can breed frustration and lack of trust. Instead, a respectful leader would take the time to explain the tasks in clear terms, making sure everyone understands their role and the expected outcome. For instance, you could say, "Let's break down the tasks. John, you'll be in charge of research. Sarah, you'll focus on presentation. Let's align on the details to ensure we're all on the same page." Clear communication doesn't just involve talking, but also actively listening. It's essential to show that you're paying attention and are open to others' feedback or thoughts. When people feel like they're being heard, they are far more likely to respect you. Listening attentively isn't simply nodding along or waiting for your turn to speak. It's about engaging with the person, asking questions, and showing that you value their perspective. A great example of this would be during a conversation where someone presents a challenge they're facing. Rather than rushing to offer a solution or giving unsolicited advice, you could say, "That sounds tough. Can you walk me through how you've approached it so far?" This question not only shows that you're genuinely interested in understanding their situation, but also helps you gather relevant information before offering your thoughts. This type of communication demonstrates that you're invested in the conversation, and when people feel valued, they respect you more. Another example of clear communication can be seen in an interpersonal situation. Imagine you are having a disagreement with a friend about a sensitive topic, such as a promise that wasn't kept. If you raise your voice, speak in absolutes like, "You always do this," or resort to blame shifting, the conversation will quickly escalate into an argument. However, a respectful approach involves speaking calmly and using I statements, such as, "I feel hurt because I was counting on your promise, and it didn't happen." This way of communicating is less likely to provoke defensiveness and opens the door for understanding, making it more likely that both parties will leave the conversation respecting each other's point of view. One of the greatest challenges in communication is managing emotions, especially in difficult or high-stress situations. Think about a scenario where you're in a conflict with a colleague. If you allow your emotions to overtake the conversation, getting angry or upset, the conversation will shift from being a respectful exchange to an emotionally charged argument. In this instance, taking a moment to breathe, stay calm, and express your emotions clearly without blaming the other person is essential. For instance, if a colleague's actions have upset you, when you're feeling overwhelmed and need some time to focus, instead of saying, "I'm busy," or ignoring requests, you could say, "I need a few hours to focus on a deadline, but I'm happy to discuss it with you afterward." By communicating your boundaries respectfully, you're asserting your needs while showing consideration for others' time and requests. People appreciate this kind of clear communication because it demonstrates respect for both parties involved. In the workplace, communication skills are critical to building credibility and fostering an atmosphere of trust. A manager who communicates clearly, with respect, and listens to feedback from employees is seen as a strong leader. For example, imagine you are conducting a performance review with an employee. Instead of giving vague feedback or focusing solely on what they did wrong, a respectful approach would involve highlighting both their strengths and areas for improvement. "I've noticed how well you manage deadlines, and your work quality is consistently high. One area for growth could be in your ability to delegate tasks to others. Let's talk about strategies to help you with that." Clear, constructive communication ensures that the conversation remains focused on growth and solutions, rather than creating defensiveness or discouragement. Effective communication is also crucial in setting and managing expectations. In any relationship, personal, professional, or familial, It's important to make sure everyone is on the same page about what's expected of them. For instance, if you're part of a team working on a project, being clear about the deadlines, goals, and individual responsibilities is vital. Rather than assuming that everyone understands what needs to be done, take the time to articulate expectations clearly. This prevents misunderstandings and fosters respect for the role each person plays in the project. Respect is built on the foundation of clear and intentional communication. It shows others that you value their time, ideas, and perspective. It's not just about speaking well, but also about being mindful of how others perceive your words and actions. Whether in a personal conversation, a team environment, or a community setting, the way you communicate with others determines how much respect you will earn. By focusing on clarity, active listening, and emotional control, you demonstrate that you can engage with others thoughtfully and with consideration, which naturally leads to mutual respect. Earning respect from others often hinges on your ability to show empathy and compassion. These qualities demonstrate that you genuinely care about the well-being and feelings of others, which naturally fosters trust, admiration, and respect. Empathy goes beyond just acknowledging someone's emotions. It's about understanding their perspective, walking in their shoes, and validating their experiences. When you actively practice compassion, you create a safe and positive environment where people feel valued and respected. Empathy begins with the art of active listening. When someone is speaking to you, it's easy to become distracted or think about your response before they've even finished. However, truly empathetic individuals listen with the intent to understand, not just to reply. For example, imagine a friend sharing their struggles about being overwhelmed at work. Instead of offering a quick solution like, just take a break, an empathetic approach would involve letting them express their thoughts fully and responding with something like, that sounds really stressful. It seems like you've been juggling a lot. What's been the most challenging part for you? This type of response not only shows that you're paying attention, but also that you genuinely care about their feelings. Compassion involves taking action based on your empathy. It's not just about understanding someone's pain, but also finding ways to support or alleviate it. For instance, let's say you notice a colleague who has been consistently staying late to meet deadlines. Instead of assuming they're managing fine, you could approach them and say, I've noticed you've been working late a lot. Is there anything I can do to help lighten your load? This small act of compassion can have a significant impact, showing the person that they are not alone and that their hard work is acknowledged. When people feel supported in this way, they naturally develop a sense of respect and gratitude toward you. A powerful example of empathy and compassion can also be seen in leadership. Imagine you're managing a team and one of your team members has been underperforming. Instead of reprimanding them publicly or jumping to conclusions, a compassionate leader would take the time to understand the root cause. You might start the conversation by saying, I've noticed you've been struggling with your tasks recently. Is everything okay? Is there something going on that's making it harder for you to focus? By opening up the conversation with care and concern, you create an environment where the person feels safe to share their challenges. Perhaps they're dealing with a personal issue or feeling overwhelmed with their workload. By understanding their perspective, you can work together to find solutions. Whether it's redistributing tasks, offering additional training, or simply providing a listening ear. This approach not only resolves the immediate issue, but also builds a foundation of mutual respect and trust. Another way to demonstrate empathy and compassion is by showing patience during disagreements. Conflict is a natural part of any relationship, but how you handle it can significantly influence the level of respect you command. For example, if someone criticizes your idea in a meeting, the immediate reaction might be to defend yourself or argue your point. However, an empathetic response involves pausing and considering their perspective. You could say, "I see where you're coming from, and I appreciate your feedback. Can you help me understand your concerns a bit more so we can address them?" This response shows that you're open to constructive dialogue and value their input, even if it differs from your own. Compassion also plays a critical role in recognizing and celebrating others' achievements. When someone accomplishes something, no matter how small, taking the time to acknowledge their effort can make a world of difference. For instance, if a team member successfully completes a challenging project, instead of just saying, "Good job," you could be more specific and thoughtful. "I'm really impressed with how you handled that project. The way you managed the timeline and collaborated with the team was outstanding. Your hard work really paid off, and it's clear that you put a lot of thought into every detail." This level of acknowledgement not only boosts their morale, but also shows that you truly value their contributions. In personal relationships, empathy and compassion are equally important. Imagine a scenario where your partner has had a particularly bad day. If they come home and vent their frustrations, responding with dismissive remarks like, "It's not a big deal," or "Just let it go," can make them feel unsupported and disrespected. On the other hand, an empathetic response would involve actively listening and validating their feelings. "I'm sorry you had such a tough day. That sounds really draining. Is there anything I can do to help?" This small act of compassion can strengthen the bond between you and foster mutual respect in the relationship. Empathy also means being mindful of your privilege and the challenges others may face that you might not experience. For instance, if a friend is struggling financially and can't join you for an expensive outing, instead of pushing them to participate or making them feel guilty, you could suggest a more affordable activity that everyone can enjoy. This kind of thoughtful consideration shows that you respect their situation and value their company over material aspects. One often overlooked aspect of compassion is self-compassion. Respect for yourself is the foundation for earning respect from others. When you treat yourself with kindness and understanding, especially during moments of failure or difficulty, you set an example for how others should treat you.